Hey everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video, we were in PowerPoint land and we were talking about the concepts behind the skeleton asset inside Unreal Engine 4. We talked about what it can do for us, how it's used, how it can be shared with multiple skeletal meshes, when we can and cannot share the asset, the skeleton asset that is. In this video, we're actually going to put those concepts to practical use. We're going to go through the process of importing some characters, some of which will be able to share the skeleton asset, some of which will not be able to, and we'll kind of showcase that why we can and why we can't aspect of using skeleton assets. So let's go ahead and get started. For the purposes of this video series, we are using Unreal Engine version 4.8 if you are following along. And we are using a brand new Blueprint third-person template project, just so that we have some stuff to kind of start out with. So let's go ahead and get started. Inside the editor here, I'm just going to play in the editor really quickly here. So because we are using the Blueprint third-person template, we have a third-person character here essentially. And this character has a skeletal mesh. It has a skeleton assigned to it, and it's currently playing an idle animation. And we can walk around with him or run around with him and jump, etc. We're not going to be doing any Blueprint scripting or anything like that to provide input to the character. We're just going to get our characters into the engine and animated. So let's actually hit escape here. And inside of my content browser, if I go down to the third-person BP folder and the character folder, under Mesh, there's a couple of assets that I kind of wanted to talk about real quick. So starting from left to right here, we have the Skeletal Mesh, which is the visual representation of our character. It's that 3D model that you visually see. Directly next to that, we have the physics asset. Now, we're not going to be working too much with physics assets at all. Actually, I don't think we're going to touch it at all. We could save that for another video. But basically, you could use this if you wanted to apply ragdoll physics to your character. You could set up some constraints inside of this asset and kind of define how your character would ragdoll, etc. But we're not going to be focusing on that too much. What we are going to be focusing on is this asset here. This is the skeleton asset. It's that fabled asset that we've been talking about. So let's actually double click and open this up. And once we open it, we are now looking at Persona, which is Unreal's animation editing tool. And we've opened it up to the skeleton tab of Persona. Now, the upper right, there's 3 tabs. There's actually a 4th tab, which comes into play when you're working with animation blueprints. But we're not working with animation blueprints. We've just opened up a skeleton asset, which is why we've opened to the skeleton tab. There's also a mesh tab, where we can define the characteristics of our skeletal mesh. And then there's an animation tab where we can start previewing animations and adding notifies and curves, etc., all here on the animation tab. But back to the skeleton tab, actually. Let's talk about this for a second. If we look at the far left, there is that list of information that we were talking about. This is the bone and hierarchy information for the skeleton that was used when this skeletal mesh was created. So if we actually go to Show and Bones here in the viewport, now you can see the actual skeleton itself, and the bones and hierarchy information in the skeleton tree on the left directly correlate to our skeleton asset here. So if we click bone names, you can actually see the bone names inside the viewport here. So when this character was created, it was set up and rigged in a manner where all the bones were named and the hierarchy was defined. When we imported this character, we created a skeleton asset for it. I should say we didn't necessarily import it. This template came with this character. But when we import a character, which we'll do in a moment, we can choose to assign or create a new skeleton asset. So let's actually do that. Let's actually import a character now. Before we do that, though, I did want to mention the characters that we are going to be importing, most of them were built using this same bone and hierarchy information. So we will be able to share the skeleton asset. And we'll go through that process here in a moment. Before we actually do that, though, I do want to import some additional animations. So I'm going to close this out really quickly. I'm going to hop down to the content browser. And if I go under the third-person BP folder, actually, and under animations, there's already some animations here. But we're going to add a couple more just so we have some more to play with. So I'm going to hop off screen for a second. And I've created a folder with a bunch of assets that we're going to be using to import here. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that in. So we have a folder full of animations, which we're going to import now. And I'll show you where you can get your hands on these as well in a moment. We also have a folder that contains one of the characters that is used in the Couch Knights demo, which is available for free on the marketplace. We're going to be importing that character. So we've just opened up that project exported it, and now we're going to re-import it essentially, just so we can go through the import process here together. So we've got this character from the Couch Knights demo. We've also got a character from the Matinee fight scene, which is also available on the marketplace for free. And then we're going to import a character from the Mixamo pack, which is on the marketplace for free as well. So we're going to import those 3 characters in a moment. Now we also have a sword that we're going to import that we pulled from the Couch Knights, just so that when we start working with sockets, we have something to populate that socket. So we pulled that from the Couch Knights demo as well. And then at the very top, there's our animations. I'll actually show you where you can get your hands on those. Inside of the marketplace here, there is the animation starter pack, which is for free. And it has 62 animations that you can use for your project. So we're just going to import those right now so that we have something else to kind of play with. So let's go ahead and start importing those. So here's all of our animations. So now I select them all and drag and drop them into the content browser, like so. And when we do so, it's going to give us the FBX import options dialog box. Now there's several options in here that we could modify and change as we start to import our animations here. The very important one is at the very top, the skeleton. It says the skeleton to use for the imported asset. We need to assign a skeleton whenever we import an animation. It says that at the end of the tooltip there. When importing an animation, this must be specified. Now these animations were all created using this skeletal mesh and the skeleton associated with it. So when we import all of these animations, all of them will automatically work with that character that we just showed a moment ago. So let's go ahead and import all these animations. I'm going to click this drop down, tell it to use that skeleton asset that we just looked at a minute ago, like so. I'm going to say go ahead and import all of those. And it's going to take just a second to import all of those. Now the really cool thing is, as we mentioned in the PowerPoint, any skeletal meshes that share the skeleton asset can automatically use any animations. So any characters that we import that use that skeleton asset that we just showed, they will be able to also use any of these animations. And we're going to set that up in a moment so you can see that process. But that's the really cool thing, is that we don't need to create separate animations for our characters. We could just share the base animations as long as the skeleton asset is the same. So we got all of our assets in here. I'm just going to save them all real quick. Just go ahead and save them like so. And before we actually import our character, let's actually get one character inside the level here. So I'm going to search for an animation. I'm just going to search for an idle. And we're going to take this idle break here. I'm just going to drag this asset into the level like so. And that's going to bring in the skeletal mesh and the skeleton asset associated with this animation currently. So we have a character in here. If we actually play now, see he is idling inside of our game here, and he looks pretty cool. So what we're going to do now is import another character, assign it to use the same skeleton asset so that it can use all of these animations. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to hop off screen again, back to my folder, and to the characters folder. And we'll start out with the fight scene. Let's go ahead and open that up. And inside the content browser, actually, I'm going to make a new folder before I do that. Let's make a new folder. And we'll just call it Trooper. So. And let me pop back up my assets. And again, this is just coming from the Matinee fight scene. Just exported that character. Now we're going to import him. Drag him in like so. And now that we are importing a skeletal mesh, we get our FBX import options. There's a couple additional options now that we could set for this skeletal mesh. Again, the most important one is the skeleton. Are we going to use a skeleton asset, or are we going to create a brand new one? Now, because this character that we are choosing to import now, again, is built using the same bone and hierarchy information as this character here, we do not need to use a separate new skeleton asset. We can click this drop down here and tell it to use that skeleton asset, like so. So once we select it, now there's some other options in here. We're going to leave most of these default. You can expand this option here, and there's a couple more options for the mesh. Really quickly, I can highlight a couple of these, like the update skeleton reference pose is a pretty important one if you are making changes to your skeleton asset externally in your favorite modeling program. If you update the pose and you choose to import a character, you can update it inside of Unreal as well by checking this checkbox. So that's a pretty important one if you are making any changes. Usually that only happens at the beginning of your projects. Once you first start to import your characters, but did want to mention that. There's also one for updating the reference pose and setting it to 0, so starting out at 0 as your reference pose. There's a couple other options in here for morph targets, etc. But feel free to look at these at your leisure. We're going to leave all of them as default for now. So let's go ahead and import our character. Actually, before we do, I'm going to uncheck animations because we're not importing any animations with this particular character. So I'm going to uncheck this and just import that skeletal mesh. Now, when we do so, we get a little message here saying no smoothing group information was found, which is fine. It was expecting that, but that's totally fine. We can go ahead and close that. Now, our skeletal mesh has been imported. It is using the same skeleton asset as this character here. So we can take this skeletal mesh, drag it into the level, and you can see it's visually different than our first character there. But under the hood is using the same skeleton asset as this character here. So it can use any animation that this character can use. So if we go down to the details panel, we can actually change and assign an animation for this character to use. If we click this drop down here and change it to use animation asset, we can select the animation to play, click this drop down, and we could say idle. I think it was idle break is the one that we're using. So let's go ahead and assign that. And our character automatically enters that animation. If we play now, both characters are playing that animation now. Now, the one on the left, actually, his coat is kind of fanning out and looks all stiff and rigid like that. Let's actually take a look at that. Let me hit escape. Let's open up that trooper lead. And here is the mesh. On the mesh, we could assign some materials and kind of make him look a little bit more visually interesting than on this all-white appearance here. We're not going to worry about that for now. We're really only focused on the skeleton. So let's go to the skeleton tab. And there's that coat. If we actually show the bones now, you can see that this character has additional bones for his coat. So as we mentioned, this character was built using the base bone hierarchy information, but we've added to it, which is perfectly fine. We could also have extra arms, as we mentioned in the previous video. We could have a tail. As long as this base information is the same, only the characters with the extra bones will utilize them. If we actually go to the other character, so let's go up here and change that back to the other character, those bones will not get used. If we look at the skeleton tree, actually, you could see there are all those cloth bones for that character's coat, currently grayed out because we're not using them. If we go back and we go back to the trooper lead here, these all become active now because this character is going to use that information. Now we could select through blueprints or through some other form of coding. We could say, any bone below this particular bone, we could apply physics to those so that we get simulated movement for the coat here. There's also an extra bone up here for this sword. If I kind of, or not sword, this knife. If I kind of fly up here, you can see there's an extra bone so that we could animate this and have this kind of bouncing around as he's running, for example. So again, anything that we are adding to is perfectly fine. We did not change up the hierarchy, and we did not rename any of our bones. So it's perfectly fine to share skeleton assets in this instance. So let's actually import another character. Before we do that, though, we do want to make sure that we save our skeleton asset because we've made changes to it. We've assigned another skeletal mesh to it, and we've added all these extra bone and hierarchy information to it. So we need to save our skeleton asset. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to close this real quick. And might as well save all the rest of our assets. I'm just going to save all. So let's import another character, actually. So we have two characters in here. Let's import a third character. So I'm going to go back to my folder with all my assets. And let's go to characters. Let's import the character from the Couch Knights showcase on the marketplace. So I'm going to open this up. Before I do that, let's create another folder inside the content browser, and we'll call it just Couch Knights, like so. And let's import that character now. So I'm just going to drag and drop this in. And we get our FBX import options. Now this character, this Couch Knights character, is going to look a little bit different. But when we set this character up externally, we built it using the same bone and hierarchy information as our primary character here, so that this character that we are importing can also share the skeleton asset. So I'm going to go ahead and assign that skeleton asset instead of creating a new one. And let's go ahead and import this character. And it's telling me about smoothing groups, which is fine. Let me just close that. And let's drag this character into the level here. And you can see this character is a lot different than the previous two characters. First of all, it's a little bit smaller, and the style is a little bit different too. But because this character is using the same skeleton asset, it can use the same animations as our primary character. So we can go down to the details panel here, click this drop down, use animation asset, and go ahead and click this. There's all of our animations. We could say idle break and assign it to our character. And look what happens to our character when we do so, though. Because our character is a little bit smaller than the previous characters, we kind of have a little bit of an issue here. Now, this is going to get into where we touch on skeleton retargeting. So before we do that, I actually want to pop this up real quick so you can take a look at this. Let me drag this in. So on the official documentation pages, if you go under Persona, Skeletal Mesh Animation, there's a section for animation retargeting using the same skeleton, and then animation retargeting using different skeletons, which we'll get into a little bit later. But right now we're focused on animation retargeting for the same skeleton because those three characters are using the same skeleton asset. So we are focused on animation retargeting for same skeleton. Now, why do we need animation retargeting? If we scroll down a little bit, I'm not going to go through this whole page, but did want to highlight this section here. So why are we using retargeting? So here's our base character, kind of like our mannequin. Here's our short, stocky character, which is kind of like that couch knight's character that we just showed, a little bit shorter of a character. We don't have a tall, skinny character that we're going to be importing, but you kind of get the idea where we're going here. If we scroll down a little bit and we go to the results before retargeting, here is our skeleton. This is what it should look like on the base character. However, when we apply animation to a character that is also using that same skeleton asset, and that character is smaller, you can see they get stretched out. In our case, the character pops up into the air. But you can kind of see what happens. Look at our tall character. The skeletal mesh kind of gets compacted to fit onto the skeleton. This is why we need skeleton retargeting. And what skeleton retargeting is going to do for us is it's going to take that base character, the information for the base character here in gold, so the skeleton in gold. When we apply skeleton retargeting, it's going to have that information here in gold, but it's going to also create a version of the skeleton for our short, stocky character and for our tall, skinny character so that none of our skeletal meshes get stretched or compacted when playing different animations. Now there's other information in here as well, under the hood stuff, how it actually works. We're actually going to get into this section in a moment when we start applying the different bone translation retargeting mode. There's 3 options. Actually, there's 4 options for this now. But we're really going to focus on animation scaled and animation. And you can kind of see what the descriptions say here. So animation, bone translation comes from the animation data. It's unchanged. Skeleton, bone translation comes from the target skeleton's bind posed. And animation scaled, bone translation comes from the animation data, but is scaled by the skeleton's proportion. This is the one that we're going to use for our skeleton here in a moment. Actually, the animation too as well. So let's actually go through that process here to fix our setup here. So if we open the skeletal mesh here for this character, so I'm going to double click, open that up, and hop over to the skeleton tab. Here's our skeleton tree. If we click this checkbox here for show advanced options, we now get the translation retargeting option. So we can make some adjustments to our skeleton to account for this particular situation here. Now, Unreal is going to try to help you. If you mouse over this section here and you see it says Control and Alt for more, if I hold Control and Alt, we're going to get an expanded tooltip that's going to tell us a lot about retargeting. And it's also going to give us a fast workflow. So down there at the bottom, it gives us a couple steps that we can take to apply skeleton retargeting to kind of fix the issue that we have here. So it says step 1, right click on your root bone and recursively set all bones to skeleton. And again, if I drag this in real quick, by setting it to skeleton, the bone's translation comes from the target skeleton's bind pose. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click my root bone here, right click on it, and recursively set translation retargeting to skeleton. So I did so. When we did so, notice we get this little dialog down here at the bottom. It says the skeleton needs to be saved. We've made changes to how our skeleton functions, so we need to make sure that we save our asset. Now we're going to be doing some additional changes, so I'm going to save in a moment, but watch whenever we make any changes, it's going to let us know, hey, you need to save this asset, otherwise you're going to lose those changes. So let's go ahead and continue. Let's hold Control and Alt. You can see our steps there. It says step 2, find the pelvis or equivalent bone and set that to animation scaled. And animation scaled, again, Bone translation comes from the animation data but is scaled by the skeleton's proportions. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to take our pelvis bone here. Before we do this, actually, I'm going to apply that animation. So it's just so we can see it. So it's idle break, was it? Yeah. Like so. So it's already popped down because we've made the change to the root bone. But we're going to continue. Let's change this to animation scaled, as it said. And again, we need to save our skeleton asset. Step 3, find the root bone, any IK bones, any weapon bones, or marker style bones, and set them to animations. Now, for our purposes, we're just going to set the root bone to animation like it said, like so. And with that, we should be done. Let's go ahead and save. And let's close this now. Our character still kind of pops in the air here. If we play, though, see now it pops down to the ground. And there we go. So all 3 characters are now sharing the same skeleton asset, sharing animations, can share any animation between each other without any problems. So what happens when we want to import a character that cannot share skeleton assets? Let's take a look at that, actually. Let's import another character here. Before we do so, let's make sure that we save everything. Let's save our skeleton asset. Let's go. Save all that. Let's create a new folder. So right-click, new folder. And this new folder is just going to be called Mixamo, because we're going to import the Mixamo character now. Open up our folder with our assets, go to characters and Mixamo, and let's go ahead and import this character. I'm going to go ahead and import this character here. And we get our FBX import options. There's the skeleton dropdown. Let's go ahead and try and assign this like so. And we want to import. Now, when we do so, we get a message. And this message says, failed to merge bones. This could happen if significant hierarchical change has been made. Inserting bone between nodes. Would you like to regenerate the skeleton from this mesh? It says, warning, this will require recompress of all animation data and potentially invalidate it. We want to say no to this. If we do so, if we click yes, it's going to try to regenerate the skeleton from this mesh and make some changes to our animation data. So any characters that we have may get affected by that and messed up. So in this instance, we're going to say no, because our skeletons are not compatible. So I'm going to hit no. And there's our message again. We can close that. So let's actually take a look at our skeletal mesh that we just imported. So when you double click on this, it's going to say the mesh currently has no valid skeleton. Would you like to create a new skeleton? We need to create a skeleton asset now to provide that bone and hierarchy information for this skeletal mesh that we just imported. So I'm going to click yes here. It's going to create a new skeleton asset for us, allow us to open up that asset. So if we hop over to the skeleton tab, here is that list of information for the skeleton tree. I'm going to minimize this for a second. And I'm going to go back to the third person and the character folder and the mesh folder. And we're going to open up this skeleton in the background here. Let me just undock that and dock it up here. Like so. I'm trying to get them both on screen here so we can see this. So the reason that we could not use the same skeleton asset here, if we look at our skeleton trees, the naming conventions for these are different. So if we try to use the same skeleton asset for this particular character here, and we try to apply an animation to this character, and we're using this skeleton asset, it's going to look for spine 01 to try to animate it, or the shoulder, etc. And it's not going to see that in the list. So it's going to get confused, and it's not going to work. So in this instance, this is why we need to create a new skeleton asset, because the hierarchy has changed and the naming convention has changed. So we look at our clavicle L here for the left shoulder. It's actually called left shoulder here. Even though they're in the same location, the naming convention is different. So that's why we need a new skeleton asset. Now, if we want to share animations between all characters, all the characters that we have imported now, we're going to have to take some animation retargeting steps here. So we drag this in. We have worked with animation retargeting for the same skeleton. Now we're going to look at animation retargeting for different skeletons, because our two skeletal meshes are using different skeletons. And we're actually going to do that in the next video. We're going to pause here now, and then we'll pick it back up in the next video where we start working on animation retargeting using different skeletons.